updates. Let's shift focus now to the Indigo crisis. Indigo is facing its toughest rebuke from the government in years. After a week of turmoil that saw more than 2,000 flights scrapped due to what the government says was poor pilot roster planning, the Ministry of Civil Aviation has now ordered Indigo to cut its scheduled operations by 10%. This order comes just hours after the DGCA had directed the airline to trim flights by 5%. Now, DGCA has received Indigo's reply to the show cause notice, where Indigo has asked more time to get the root cause analysis. Now, viewers remember the regulator had cleared over 15,014 weekly departures for the winter season, a period when demand surges. And yet, Indigo went into a meltdown, cancelling nearly 1,000 flights in November alone. Aviation Minister Mohan Naidu made it clear. He stated, and I quote, "No airline, however large, will be permitted to cause hardship to passengers through planning failures or non-compliance." The ministry has also directed the airline to follow fare caps and passenger-friendly measures without exception. Now, other airlines, including Air India, have been told to add flights to absorb demand. Despite the government's tough posture, Indigo says that it is back on its feet. The airline claims it is flying to all 138 destinations and that its on-time performance has returned to normal. But the centre isn't taking chances. After withdrawing FDTL, now the message is clear. No airline can be too big to be questioned. I am now being joined by Captain C.S. Randhawa, President of the Federation of Indian Pilots. So, thank you so much for joining us. So, we're of course taking a look at this big order by the Ministry of Civil Aviation, which has asked Indigo to cut its flights by 10%, and other airlines have been asked to add flights in order to accommodate the demand. How do you view this step? Do you think that it will be somewhat able to address the ongoing crisis?
First of all, I would like to compliment the government to take a proactive step in cancelling the 6% extra flights which were allocated to Indigo Airlines in the winter schedule. Over and above, they have cancelled 4 additional % of flights. It's rightly so, because if the airline was banking on twisting the rules, and they knew it very well that since last 24 months that they require X amount of crew for Y amount of flights, which they had not done. They slept over it. They saved approximately 12 to 1400 crores of rupees in terms of non-recruitment of the pilots. So the point is, it's in the right direction. The government has taken a step that there is a need in the country to start reducing the monopoly which Indigo Airlines has been enjoying since last few years. And on the contrary, they kept adding on to the number of flights as the airlines kept getting closed. They kept getting the share, the largest share, and they were able to monopolize. And the country has learned a big lesson, the government of India, the citizens of the country, that any sector which is monopolized in the country is detrimental, absolutely detrimental. So I think it is in the right direction. The government has moved, and we compliment that at least this step has been taken, and the other airlines are able to absorb the extra flights which are given. I think Air India should be able to absorb a lot of flights because they have wide body aircraft. So like if there is one 777 aircraft which flight is replaced from 2 Airbus flights, so it can take double the load of an Airbus. So deployment of these aircraft, wide body aircrafts in the domestic sector, depending on the availability of the aircraft, I think Air India does not have much problem about the crew, because they were adhering to the guidelines issued by the DGCA regarding the FDTL CR.
Of course, sir. Now, I would also like to ask you about one very pertinent point that is maybe not being talked about as much. Currently, of course, there is a widespread impact on passengers, but one issue that has been consistently raised, and long before this crisis in fact reached this scale, is the calls by Indigo pilots, by Indigo crew about the failure of this rostering that we're seeing as being one of the major drivers behind this crisis. They've raised concerns about work hours and workload. How much of this crisis do you think is rooted in crew shortages or fatigue, rostering failures, and how serious are these complaints when they're raised by workers of one of the biggest airlines in India?
Okay, I'll break this question into 3-4 points. First and foremost thing, we have been of the view, and we are very clear that there is a large amount of responsibility which the airline owes due to what they were trying to do is increase the schedule for the aircraft utilization in network planning, and they were also amalgamating the FDTL new rules into the rostering system. However, if they were doing so, they should have had a manual backup, because second thing which I tell you is very, very pertinent, that the crews were available in the flight dispatch at various airports around the country. The cabin crew was available, the aircraft was on ground, but flight dispatch had no orders to release the flight. So was this attempt deliberate? That needs to be now clarified and checked by DGCA. Thirdly, if I recollect, about 4 or 5 years back, 6 years back, last flight of Indigo used to land at 12:30 at night in some places. Otherwise, around 11 o'clock, they used to wind up, and first flight used to take off at 5:30. But if you see their schedule now, almost 35% of their flights are at night, and they managed to twist the arm of the government and twist the safety of the country, where they had 24 months to equip themselves with the requisite amount of pilots. They did not do so. On the contrary, whatever shortage they have saved in the tune of 12 to 1400 crores. If we take 1 year's salary of these pilots who were supposed to be recruited, 140 pilots. So aircraft induction into the airline is very important, because when you induct an aircraft, I must have the requisite amount of air crew and the ground manpower. Until unless I have that, the government should not allow any induction of the aircraft in any airline. On the contrary, in the winter schedule, they already had a problem with the FTTL. They wanted to chew even more. They asked for 6% increase on the contrary. And at no point of time they wanted to maintain the current CR, and they wanted exemptions. These are serious things, because the CR has been made very scientifically, and it is a requirement from the safety angle of the passengers that these safety norms are followed. It is ridiculous that one airline is not adhering to any norms and all the other airlines are adhering to the norms. So this way the action of the government is commendable. So what I would say is, in this question, that Indigo knew that this was coming, and they had planned the integration. So if they had planned the integration, they should have had a manual backup. In the manual backup, there could have been 20, 30, 40 flights which could have been cancelled. but not a figure of 5,000, 5,500 flights. Even till yesterday, the cancellations are in excess of 350. So it's going to take a long time to recuperate because they have, I think they're still having problems in, the movement of the aircraft, how the movement is taking place. But now they should be able to stabilize. They should go back to the old planning because 10% of the extra flights have been taken off by the government. So they should be able to stabilize it very fast without any delays. And they were, on the contrary, if you see their reply yesterday to the government, four are absolutely flimsy answers and which should not be acceptable by the government. Whom are they trying to fool? The public knows, everyone knows the weather is good all over India. Winter has not even set in. There's no fog. As far as ATC congestions, it is same. So all other 4 points, except a part of it, they're saying is because of the software. And for software also, they had a long time to update it. 1st of November, it became effective. How come the other airlines, they managed to do everything in time? So I think there could be the arm twisting by the airline to get their way. It's my way or highway.
Well, sir, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining.